Asha from LG Institute of Engineering and Technology from the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. Today I am going to explain you about the topic Impulse Invariance Method from the subject of Digital Signal Processing. In the last session I had explained you about the approximation by derivative method. There is some disadvantages. It will be recovered by using this method. If we are representing the analog filter transfer function in the form of partial fraction expansion method, then it will be representing as analog transfer function HA of S equals to 1 upon S minus P1 into the constant A1. So it will be representing as A1 upon S minus P1 plus A2 upon S minus P2, where the value P1, P2, P3, it will representing the pole 1, pole 2, pole 3 like this, and the value of A1, A2, A3, it will representing as gain of this function. So if you are representing the impulse invariance method, in this we will taking starting with this analog transfer function, it will be in the form of this P1, P2, P3 pole by using the partial fraction method. Then if we are representing this form in the generalized form, so it will be representing as summation of this will be representing as AK. So the value of K will be starting from 1 to n. If we are taking n number of samples or n number of poles. Same way over here the term will representing as S minus Pk. So the value of K equals to 1, 2, 3 up to n. Now if we are taking inverse Laplace transform of this, then it will gives you, this will be representing as h of t, and this will be in inverse of this means if I am taking 1 upon s minus a, then what will be the inverse Laplace transform of this? As you know that its inverse Laplace transform is e raised to at, right? So applying this rule over here, so this term will representing as summation inverse Laplace transform of this will be summation k equals to 1 to n. Ak will remain as it is like this, and this will be representing as e raised to pk. Now as you know that we have to convert this analog form to its equivalent digital form. So instead of t, we will taking n number of samples. So it will be representing as n number of ts, where the value of ts will representing as sampling time. So this will be representing in terms of digital signals. It will be representing in the form of h of n. So this term will be representing as k equals to summation k equals to 1 to n ak into e raised to pk. Instead of t, I am writing n. Now if I am taking Z transform of this, then what will be the Z transform of h of n? The equation of Z transform is, if we are taking the summation for the entire range, then the value will be summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite h of n z raised to minus n, right? So if I am applying this rule, so what will be the Z transform? Z transform is h of z equals to summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite h of n z raised to minus n. Now instead of this h of n, I am putting the value of h of n. Now what is the value of h of n? The value of h of n equals to summation k equals to 1 to n ak e raised to pk and ts, right? This z raised to minus n will be as it is, and as you know that we are taking starting from present value to the next value or to the past value. So the future value we are not including in this, because if we are taking the future value, then this system will convert into the non-Cauchy system. So if we are converting this in the form of Cauchy sequence, so the range of this will be from summation n equals to 0 to infinite. So I am writing this term as summation n equals to 0 to n, 0 to infinite, right? Now the next rule is arrived over here. If there is two summation, then we will interchanging the order of this two thing. Then what will be the order? Summation k equals to 1 to n, summation n equals to 0 to infinite. Which value has the term indicating n will comes over here, other than this will comes over here. So starting with this AK, there is not a single point of n, right? So it will be outside of this summation, so we will write it over here. Now in this n will be there, over here also n will be there. So I am writing like this: e raised to pk and ds into z raised to minus n. Now suppose if I am simplifying this formula, then what will be the next term? When the summation is given to you, then you will convert it in the form of summation n equals to 0 to infinite a raised to n, right? So if I am converting it in the form of a raised to n, what is the value of a? A will be e raised to pk, n goes over here, so the term will be ds, z raised to minus n means z raised to minus 1 raised to n, so it will consider as z raised to minus n. So this will be considered as a. Now as you know that if we are taking summation n equals to 0 to infinite a raised to n, then the term will be 1 upon 1 minus a. So the value of a equals to this, so I am applying this formula in the next point. So the value of h of z will equals to summation k equals to 1 to n ak, and the value of the next summation is 1 upon 1 minus a. What is the value of a? The value of a equals to e raised to pk and ds. N goes outside of this term, so e raised to pk ds into z raised to minus 1. Right, so this one is the value of a. So 1 upon 1 minus a. Now if I am simplifying this term, then the term will be, this term representing as the summation k equals to 1 to n ak 1 upon z goes over here, so it will also representing like z upon z minus e raised to pk ds. So by using this equation or this equation, we can convert this analog filter into particular digital filters. Now if we are equating, this term is considered as equation number 2, and we had derived the equation number 1 like this. This one is equation number 1, right? Because it is representing in the form of analog form. So if we are equating this equation with the equation number 2, then what will be the equation? Equation will be ak upon summation k equals to 1 to n ak upon s minus pk equals to this equation. Suppose if I am writing this equation, the summation k equals to 1 to n ak into 1 upon 1 minus e raised to pk ds z equals. So from this you can see that if I am representing this as ak into 1 upon s minus pk, so this term will remain same on both sides. So after equating this two term, I can say that 1 upon s minus pk equals to 1 upon 1 minus e raised to pk ds z equals. So this is the final answer for conversion of this analog filter to its equivalent digital filter. Now we have to do mapping between these two. So the next point is we will starting relationship between the S-plane and Z-plane. So if we are doing the mapping between S-plane and Z-plane, then by using this last equation we will converting it in the form of mapping between these two. So next point is the relationship of S-plane to Z-plane. It means mapping between these two planes. So if we are doing mapping between these two, you can see from the last slide where is the pole over here. If I am taking Z equals to e raised to pk ds, then at that point we will deriving the pole position of this digital filter, right? So what is the value of pole for the digital filter? Pole will be located at Z equals to e raised to pk ds. Same way, if we are representing pole for the analog filter, then where is the pole? Pole will be located as s equals to pk, right? So instead of this pk, I am writing this s. So this equation will convert in the form of z equals to e raised to s ds. Now if we are representing s equals to sigma plus j ohm, so this term is representing as z equals to e raised to sigma plus j ohm into ds. Now if I am simplifying this term, then e raised to sigma ts into e raised to j omega ds. Right. Now if we are representing z equals to r into e raised to j omega means in the polar form, then we can replace this point z. Instead of z I am writing r into e raised to j omega, right? Now if I am equating these two terms, you can say that this real part equals to this real part and this imaginary part equals to this imaginary part, right? So if I am equating these two terms, then I can say that the value of r equals to e raised to sigma ds. So if I am writing r equals to e raised to sigma ds, from this we are taking different values of sigma to derive the different values of r. So for that I am taking three different planes. Suppose if I am taking this one as a sigma, so we can take sigma is less than 0, or we can say that sigma equals to 0, or we can also take as sigma greater than 0, right? So I am taking three different cases for this three term. So if I am taking starting with case number 1, which is sigma less than 0. So if I am taking this part as a negative, so e raised to minus something means it will goes to the decreasing form. So the value of r will be decreasing from its value of the starting point. Suppose if I am taking sigma equals to 0, then value of e raised to 0 equals to 1. So the value of sigma less than 0, its value will be always less than 1, right? So the value of r will be less than 1 for this part. Now the next thing is, if I am taking sigma equals to 0 over here, so e raised to 0 means 1. So the value of r equals to 1, and the third portion is, if I am taking sigma is greater than 0, so this value will be positive, and e raised to positive term means its value will be r, value of r will be always greater than 1. So we can say from this term, we can say that the value of sigma less than 0, for that the value of r is less than 1. So if I am taking r, radius of it equals to 1, so the pole position will be always less than 1, means it will be inside the unit circle. So we can say that for the stable analog filter design, it will converting in the stable digital filter, right? Same way, if I am taking this part, second case, so it will be considered as marginal stable, so it will gives you the on the border of this term. So it will gives you the marginal stable state. Same way, if we are taking sigma greater than 0 part, so it will gives you the outside of this part. So it will gives you unstable output part. Right. So this way we can convert the stable analog filter to particular stable digital filter design. So if we saying that for this particular method, what are the disadvantages? The disadvantages may be it have many to one mapping, and because of this many to one mapping, we have to remove its disadvantage. Now what is many to one mapping? Suppose if I am taking input as this or this, for that the equivalent digital filter point will be remain same. So for many input, it will gives you the particular one point, so it will consider as many to one mapping. So to remove this disadvantage, we will derive in the next technique, which is bilinear transformation. So it will be, I will explain this method in the next session. So before that, I am going to explain you some equations based on this impulse invariance method. So suppose starting with this, if I am taking input analog filter as 1 upon s minus pk, and if I am converting this into particular digital filter, its equivalent digital filter response will be 1 upon 1 minus e raised to pk ds z, as we had derived this term, right? Now same way, if we are using the cos or sine term, then the term will be in this form, s plus a upon s plus a whole square plus b square. As you know that this one is equation for cos, so in this over we will using the cos term. So the term will be 1 minus e raised to minus a ds cos bt s into z inverse upon 1 minus 2 e raised to minus a ts cos bts z inverse plus e raised to minus a 2 ts z raised to minus 2. Same way, if I am using the sine term, then the term will be b upon s plus a whole square plus b square, and value of it equals to e raised to minus a ts sine bts z inverse upon 1 minus 2 e raised to denominator will remain as it is e raised to minus ATS cos BTS into Z inverse plus e raised to minus 2ATS Z raised to minus 2. So this analog filter can be converting into particular digital filter by using these equations. By using these equations, we can solve that which is converting in the form of analog to digital filter by using the impulse invariance method. Thank you so much.